I was just kind of curious. You have a lot of different pieces this spring. Kind of how are you working the different guys, and how have you guys like Caleb looked? Kind of trying to learn.
Well, the good news is we have depth, and everybody's kind of come back and have that experience. It's allowed people to play their spots, whether it be the strong or free at a high level. And then if we need them to fill in for a nickel rep, or whether it's a nickel that needs to go play safety or corner that needs to come play nickel. I think DA has played every spot in our secondary, left, right corner, strong safety, free safety, and nickel. Anytime that you can have position flexibility, you're going to have more value, add value to the program. So just having some experienced guys come back has done that, has helped. And then all the experienced guys, I think, have done a really good job with the Caleb and some of the young guys, even Jalen Huff coming in and playing more nickel than corner. They've kind of been teaching them on field, right after they come off the sideline, teaching them what they need to do. But Caleb's a quick learner. He's a natural football player. He's smart. He's still got a lot to learn as he goes, but he knows how to play the game, and he knows spacing in college football, which is a big deal when you identify the growth curve coming from the high school level to college level.
Next question comes from Rod McKenzie from 247 Sports.
Hey, Nate, naturally, Reek and Wanye are two big pieces of the puzzle in the secondary. It seems like they're playing with a lot of energy this spring. What have you seen from them?
Yeah, I think they're playing with a lot of energy, a lot of passion. They're really trying to focus in and make the plays that are supposed to come to them first off. Being glued in with their eyes, knowing when their eyes are supposed to be, not trying to rush a play or make a play that's not supposed to be theirs. And I think they're having a lot more success, being dialed into what we're trying to do defensively. Their growth from year to year has been really good. And now they're just playing so much faster, playing with so much more confidence, playing better with the people around them. They're communicating at a much higher level. So their skill set, we all know they got a unique skill set, but pair that within the guys that are beside them, and the communication factor, I think, has really helped elevate their play.
Next question comes from Ken Segura from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Hey, Nathan, I could go back to last year. Kind of what did you feel like you guys did well? What did you need to get better at? Kind of what were some things you really dialed in on, focused in on this spring?
I think when you think about things that we did well, conceptually, some of our zone concepts, I think we had an idea of where we needed to be. And then in our run fits, I think we did an okay job there. We didn't necessarily have the pass efficiency that we wanted to in the back end. A lot of that was kind of misplaced eyes, or we're playing the run a little bit too early. So that's really what we've dialed into, is what do we need to do, narrow our focus pre-snap, doing a much better job even this spring of studying film and studying our opponents, even if it's our offensive, our slots in the offense. What are their release moves? What are their tendencies when these guys are in? And doing a daily film study on that, so that'll go into the weekly deal when we start playing real games again this fall. But I think we're playing better in man-to-man, using our hands, keeping our leverage. Leverage is a simple thing in football. You've got to live by it and you got to die by it. And you can't play everything the same based on the intent of the call. You got to play that leverage. And I think they're understanding that better, going from our man-to-man stuff to our zone stuff.
Another question from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, this time from Steve Hummer.
Yeah, Coach, with Tariq, what were the conversations like as far as, him coming back for another year, and what do you sense the expectations are for a player who's made that decision to put in another year here?
Yeah, the conversation is pretty much played off of last season, just kind of going into with all the uncertainty in his mind. It was never, I'm not going to come and return. He was kind of hoping that the year might have turned out differently, or it would have opened up, but it didn't. So he just kind of used that, embraced that year as hey, let's get back healthy. Let's get back playing fast. It wasn't a huge conversation like we were all waiting around. What is he going to decide? He was like, I'm coming back and it's going to be great. So his focus he's really matured in his process. He's had a guy that he considers his brother have a really, really good final year, Jamin Davis, and he's kind of in that mold too, so he knows that this is his last hurrah, and he's really doing the things that it takes to be successful.
Time for a couple more for Coach Burton. We'll take one from Kelly Quinlan.
Derek Allen seems like a really versatile guy, especially the way you guys have used him. You even had him line up outside. So I'm kind of, what have you seen from him as he's kind of matured in your program over the last year and a half?
Well, Derek Allen's skill set is unbelievable. He is, you talk about a guy with loose hips and sticky in coverage, and he can be physical and he can be violent. He can kind of do the things that you need to do. Coach Collins' defense and Coach Stacker's defense, the position flexibility part, especially for DA, a guy that can handle it all. It's just been nice to have. He's got a good frame. He's smart. He's really fast. He's twitchy. So he, just using that skill set and all the different things that we can do with him, it just helps us, especially when you want to be a plug and play type of defense, especially weekly. Hey, where's the matchup? Do we need him to be an inside defender? Do we need him to be an outside defender? Do we need him to close the post? Do we need him to be a man-to-man in our quarters deal? Just having flexibility, DA. I mean, he's come a long way. He's playing with confidence. He's playing fast. He's a learner. He wants to do it all. That's the biggest thing. A lot of guys just want one technique. He wants to do it all.
Okay, time for two more for Coach Burton. We'll take one from Rod McKenzie and we'll take one from Ken Segura. So Rod, go ahead.
Hey, Nate. Wesley Walker's a player that, as the season went on last year, it seemed like he really picked his game up. What are your expectations for him this year?
Well, I think Wesley, the things that he can do well, he does at a high level. Just being that nickel spot for us. He came along last year. It's his third year going into what we're doing here, but he's still just a freshman on paper, which is his growth is going to be huge. Whether he's going to be a nickel or a safety or whatever he's going to do in our program from here out. But he is, you talk a guy that shows up and has matured in the process, wants to work, does the little things. He's already acting like a pro with the film study, getting extra treatment, making sure his body's prepared for a long run. He's a film he studies film. How about I just say it that way? He studies film, but he also watches guys like on YouTube of players that he likes to emulate. So he'll watch that stuff and study their movement patterns, and then he'll come and talk to us about it. So Wesley, just what he's going to be able to do, and he's really learning to play fast with Tariq and Wanye and Trey being around him to kind of help mold him. We're expecting big things for him out of that nickel spot this year.
Last question for Coach Burton from Ken Segura.
Nathan, Coach Collins mentioned that I think it was last week about how last year he thought that the too often, I guess, the corners or being corners of safeties were being said there wasn't enough, I guess, playing as a secondary. And I'm curious what that looked like. And how, you mentioned that you guys had met more as a group, and kind of what does that look like?
Well, I think the thing started off is just making sure that, Coach Pop and I were on the same wavelength during practice and doing our film study. And just same thing. You have Coach Collins, you have Coach Pop, me, Coach Stacker, all having input on what's going on the back end. So we just want to make sure that we tightened up our vocabulary, that we're trying to speak the same, having the same interaction with our guys. So I think that one thing that's kind of helping. The meeting together, right? They get to hear the safety calls as we are looking at it, right? Because our safeties are going to make the calls in the defense. So there becomes a trust factor that gets built when Trey hears Tariq make the correct call during the meeting and it's correct, right? So sometimes in a meeting they can't hear that. It gets to the field and they're like, well, hey, what's going on? So now we have a chance to fix it in the meeting room. So there's some things that we have to meet on differently to watch all the film that we do from the way we practice. But it has been good that we say, hey, these are the 5, 10, 15 plays that we need to watch together as a secondary, make sure our communication's on point, and then we move on from there to get the individual technique done. So that's the in the classroom version of it. We've also challenged them outside of here just to hang out more, just develop a trust factor relationship, because we all believe in college football that the relationship, the trust isn't built just from on-field communication. It's, can I trust you out of the building, out of the program? So fighting through this global pandemic, still being around each other has been hard, but them having to recognize that they have to do that to build that trust has been good to see.